once the barrel's loaded, a small amount of gunpowder is placed into the frizzen pan. The hope is that the flint will create enough sparks to ignite it. Now, people ask me all the time, were they all deaf? No! Your ancestors weren't idiots. They knew how to put stuff in their ears. We know this because they wrote it down. We learn a lot of stuff because they wrote it down. This is frayed cotton cord. It'll keep my ears from ringing. That's all I have to do. This fails 20% of the time to ignite. So if I fire it 10 times, on average, 8 will work, 2 will not. So let's see if I can beat the average. Wiggle! I did. Iron doesn't conduct heat energy very well, but it conducts it well enough that this part down here is still hot from that midsection that I heated up. So I'm cooling it down. I'm cooling it down while I've got the other end in the fire because I don't want to take the time to take that piece out. Alright, here we go. I'll use this smaller hammer to get the shape that I want all the way around. That's looking good. So, problem is, I've kind of made a closed-ended top. So it'll hang on a hook fine, but when I want to hang it on a rod, it won't because that loop is too close. So I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to take some pliers and bend it out just a little more. Cannons were a big deal back then because of their destructive power compared to everything else at their disposal. 4 guys with 1 cannon can kill 4 times as many people as 100 guys with muskets in 20 minutes. Pretty crazy. That's why cannons are a big deal. Ships have cannons. Forts have cannons. There's a huge difference. Ships are made of wood. Some forts are made of wood, but the big ones are all made of stone. Ships will sink, the forts won't. Ships are moving all the time, so they're an unstable gun platform. The forts, if they're sturdy enough, will allow the cannons to be as precise as cannons were possibly capable of during that era. So the advantage always was with a big fort like this compared to the ships that came against it. In 1740, Oglethorpe brought 22 warships with him. Most of them were borrowed from England, but they came down here, and guess what they did not do? They did not get within what they suspected was the range of any of the guns at the fort. For good reason. They would have been destroyed. So forts have a big advantage. Now, this is a 3-pound cannon. It fires a 3-pound cannonball. You can put a 3-pound cannonball down the barrel and it'll shoot at 500 yards. This thing works. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of gunpowder down the vent, a little bit of gunpowder around the vent. It's going to demonstrate the ignition speed that these cannons had. They didn't use fuses for ignition. That's all Bugs Bunny Roadrunner nonsense. What they did was this. We know this because they wrote it down and we can copy it. manufacturer's version of the gunpowder that they had 200 years ago. 70% charcoal, 20% sodium nitrate, 10% sulfur. It's not modern gunpowder. Modern gunpowder is much more explosive. They're not using charcoal, they're using cordite and a bunch of different stuff. So this has a slower burn rate. It's very effective given the barrels and the cannons that they had at the time, but it's not nearly as explosive as modern gunpowder. This wick, which is slowly smoldering, when it touches the gunpowder, the ignition will be instantaneous. Wake up! What you just heard was a tape